right, hi students. Welcome back to school. Today we are going to continue working on the Giver, which is our unit 1. And we will be focusing on chapter 14. But before we get into chapter 14 work, we have a little MLQ information that I'm going to review in order to get you ready for testing tomorrow. Basically, this is what our schedule looks like. And you can find the same schedule kind of on your independent daily agenda on our Columbia website, which tells you exactly what your homework is and what you should be working on during conference time as well. Let's get into MLQ. MLQ for ELA tomorrow will consist of one passage. It is a fictional passage. You will have 3 AB questions, and you should know about AB questions. If you get part A right and part B wrong, you get partial credit. If you get part B right and part A wrong, then you get absolutely no credit because they're going to assume that it was just a good guess. Those part B questions are the questions that basically ask you about the support or the details that best support the part A. You have an essay again. It will be a literary analysis, which is basically just like the same essays that we've been writing for the Giver. A few things that I want you to do before you read, as you read for your on your test tomorrow. Please review all of the questions first. Underline the keywords in the questions. Read and annotate the text. Reread if necessary. Please don't rely on just one reading because a lot of times you may need to reread something again in order to get a better understanding. Don't forget this is a time test. You have 45 minutes unless you have extended time, and those students know who they are. You should spend approximately 15 minutes reading and answering the multiple choice questions, and the rest of the time you should spend on the essay. Please spend the bulk of your time on the essay. Brainstorming, pre-writing, writing, drafting, revising, editing. Make sure you reread the entire essay to make sure it has all of the necessary parts that it needs. So on the handout, you have a few slots where you need to fill in some of your notes. The passage will be fictional, which means it will have a plot that consists of literary elements such as character, setting, conflict, etc., exposition, rise in action, fall in action, so on and so forth. You will always have a question about an unfamiliar word used in the passage. A few things to remember to help you figure out the meaning of unfamiliar words. Look inside the word. Does it contain any prefixes or suffixes that will give you a hint of the meaning? So, for example, if it has if it has dis, then you know those prefixes mean not. So it means the opposite of whatever the word actually is. Look outside the word. What is going on in the text where the word is being used? Is it something negative or positive? Look around the word. Sometimes there will be a word that means the same thing as the unfamiliar word. So, for example, let's look at the MLQ from last week. You had a story called Perfect, and the main character, Miranda, was thinking about going on a date, a school dance, and she thought she needed the perfect date. And so the first question that was asked after the passage, it says, what is the meaning of the word rendered as is used in paragraph number 8 of the story? I'm going to go back to paragraph number 8 very quickly. And as you can see, it says right here, suddenly Miranda realized he was the perfect date she had rendered in charcoal the night before. But how was that possible? Well, rendered, there's actually no prefix or suffix there, but there is an ed on there, which means it's past tense. It means something that she had already done, and it says the night before. So I'm thinking back, and the night before, I knew she had drawn a picture. So if I go down to my answer choices, it says desired, imagined, dreamed, and depicted. Now, a lot of you chose imagined, which was the tricky answer because and a lot of you chose dreamed as well because you know that she had kind of like imagined this person, and in her dream, this person actually came true. But the correct answer was depicted. Depicted is a kind of unfamiliar word to you as well, but it means kind of like to draw something or to make something look a certain way, the way something looks, it depicts. And then you see in the detail right here that the best help for rendered is drew her perfect date in charcoal, which was in paragraph number 7. So please remember that not all the time the clue of the unfamiliar word, it may not actually be in the same paragraph. So you have to definitely look around the unfamiliar word. Something else I really want you to pay attention to, your other questions, your other AB questions may be about character's point of view, may be about conflict, may be about plot development, or it may ask you to identify the objective summary. On the last MLQ, most of you did a pretty good job on the rest of the AB questions. This one, it says, how does Miss Williamson discussion of Pygmalion statue Galatea affect Miranda? So in other words, when our teacher was talking about this myth, what did it cause Miranda to basically do or think? And it caused Miranda to imagine what her ideal partner would be like. And it says, what detail best supports the answer? It says, at home that night, Miranda pulled out her sketch pad and drew her perfect date in the charcoal. So this is kind of one of those plot questions that you may be answered, like what happens in the story and then what caused that to happen in the story. And remember, the part B questions always ask you for the best support for the part A questions. I was really proud of you for this question right here about the central idea, which is basically the same thing as the main idea of the passage. I think we had like maybe 64% of you got this question right. It says a girl realizes that there is no such thing as the perfect date. And when you talk about central idea of a fictional passage, it's almost kind of like you're talking about the theme. Like, what does the character really learn in this story? And then the two paragraphs that best support that she learns that there's no such thing as a perfect date were at the end of the story, paragraph 19 and paragraph 23. Let me quickly go back to those two paragraphs so you can see what it's talking about. It says Miranda laughed and started to feel a little better. She wanted to ask Leonard who his date was, but Armando appeared and swept her back out onto the dance floor. They swirled around together, and for a moment, everything was precise as Miranda had imagined it would be. Then she lost her footing and fell, sliding across the polished gym floor like an Olympic swimmer going for the gold. So things weren't going quite right. Miranda considered exactly how imperfect Leonard would be at the dance. Actually, she said, I think I've changed my mind. So there it is. She's realizing there is no such thing as a perfect date. So when you talk about central idea of a fictional story, you're basically kind of talking about the theme of the story as well. So that's probably something else I need to add to um objective central idea or objective summary, or two of the big things that they may ask you about. Objective summary, if they say to identify the objective summary, remember objective summary, it sticks to the facts of what actually happened in the story. It doesn't include any opinions, and it doesn't include any details that aren't very important. So make sure you read each one of the summary choices very carefully. Now, your literary analysis essay, it may ask you to analyze any one of these things: the character's point of view, the character's change, the character's motivation, meaning the reason why the character does what they do in the story, the effect of the setting on the character, which we talked a lot about in The Giver, because the setting of the story really affects how Jonas feels and how he acts in the story, development of point of view. Remember, the author can develop the point of view through inner thoughts, through the character's dialogue or conversation with other characters, through the character's actions, and through the character's feelings that usually come out in their inner thoughts. Development of conflict as well. Author's word choice to create a certain tone. Literary elements such as foreshadowing, which we've definitely gone over, but a lot of you did not do well on. Foreshadowing is when an author uses hints to kind of tell you what's coming next. Symbolism and suspense. This is just to name a few. Okay, so you can stop the video here and go back to your handout. If you have not finished reading chapter 14, please do that right now and make sure you do well on those